Welcome into episode 126 of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm August Trometer.
Little nests have big ears. Google crosses one of its own privacy lines, and when sharing can be a bad thing. Find out when on this edition of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. A few weeks back, we had a Nest story where somebody hacked a family's Nest, made the family think the U.S. was being attacked. Then the family blamed Nest for not telling the planet that sometimes things like that happen, when really the issue was bad password management on the part of the family. In that case, we pretty much held Nest blameless. Personally, I cannot do that this time. The headline from a Business Insider piece, Google says the built-in microphone it never told Nest users about was never supposed to be a secret. Google owns Nest, and yes, the idea that the built-in microphone Google never told Nest users about was never supposed to be a secret is as ludicrous as it sounds. In early February, the piece says Google announced that Assistant would work with its home security and alarm system, Nest Secure. The problem: users didn't know a microphone existed on their Nest security devices to begin with. According to a statement from Google, the on-device microphone was never intended to be a secret and should have been listed in the tech specs. That was an error on our part. The microphone has never been on and is only activated when users specifically enable the option. Security systems often use microphones to provide features that rely on sound sensing. We included the mic on the device so that we can potentially offer additional features to our users in the future, such as the ability to detect broken glass. As a gatherer of information, as Google is, how do you accidentally forget to tell people that the thing you're asking them to put their trust in has a built-in microphone?
I honestly don't know how their PR department put out a statement like that, because you're like, oh, well, our secret microphone wasn't supposed to be secret, right? And trust us because we've got your back on everything else.
Yeah. It's honestly, I can't even, that's just, I don't even know how. I don't even know how you say that. Now, not surprisingly, members of Congress want to know a bit more. Another piece from Business Insider has Virginia Senator Mark Warner and Oregon Senator Ron Wyden offering comments. On the Nest's microphone, Senator Warner said, "This is totally at odds with consumer expectations. The standard talking point that consumers don't care about privacy has been increasingly disproven, as we learn that consumers and policymakers have been kept in the dark for years about data collection and commercialization practices. Both responsible federal agencies and the U.S. Congress must have hearings to shine a light on the dark underbelly of the digital economy, including how incumbents are shaping the smart home ecosystem in potentially unfair and anti-competitive ways." Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, another member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told Business Insider that he's also concerned about Google's lack of transparency in this case, saying every sensor in every electronic device should be clearly identified to consumers prior to purchase. Americans may choose to put various sensors in their homes or in their pockets for the utility they offer, but they must always know they're doing it, and it must always be a choice. Here's the thing. I think he's right in theory, but every sensor in every electronic device should be clearly identified to consumers prior to purchase. Is that even possible, considering the number of sensors in, just run-of-the-mill devices?
I'm admittedly an Apple fan, because they tend to do most things right. And when you look at their product page for their iPhone, everything is laid out. They tell you exactly what sensors are on board, what exactly they're doing. I don't think this is something that is hard to get away from. If you've got a sensor in there, you should be telling consumers what you're doing with it. And that's sort of my bottom line. I mean, the fact that they had a microphone that no one knew about, and then the fact that they didn't tell anybody about it, and then the fact that they said, "Oh, well, sorry."
You know what it reminds me of? Honestly, a movie that I really hated, but I was excited about, so I saw it anyway. iRobot. I don't know if you remember iRobot. It was the one with Will Smith and a bunch of CG robots. Nowhere near as good as the Asimov stuff that it was based on. But, I mean, it was fine. Because here's the thing. What happened was they were everybody had robots. And then the company that made all the robots, they were old and they were crappy and whatever. And so they replaced all the robots with new robots. And people got the new robots, whether they wanted the new robots or not. And then once the robots were in their houses, somebody flipped a switch and suddenly the robots wouldn't let people leave their houses. They were doing all this stuff, basically they were doing stuff that people didn't want them to do. And that feels like what this was. Just like each nest ended up being a Trojan horse in a way. And part of me thinks it's possible that Google really did. No, I can't even do that. I can't do that. Because here's the thing, they announced that Google Assistant was going to work with this thing that had no obvious microphone, right? Did they really think that they had told people, or did they just think that people would be so happy to find out that they would be able to talk to this microphone that had been there the whole time? I want to go back to what you said, though. You say that Apple's page lists every sensor and what everything does. I would be surprised if that's the case. I think Apple probably lists the marquee sensors in a way. And certainly Apple's going to tell you, part of the problem is you're talking about an iPhone. Part of the problem is with so much stuff that Apple has, they're talking about voice connectivity. So I know that the remote for my 4th generation Apple TV has a microphone because I can just pick up the remote and go, hey, find this thing for me. Or, same with my phone, same with my watch. Built into that is the assumption that it has a microphone because it can hear me when I talk. I'd be concerned that given the number of sensors and devices, just the number plus the technical names of certain sensors, we may just end up with another terms of service glaze. Google might just put one of those, 2-inch by 3-inch, 26-page folded booklets filled with 3-point font, theoretically saying everything that's in the thing. And then all of a sudden it's the same as, the things that we click. Yes, I agree, because I'm trying to, hurry up and get to my Smurf berries. I don't have time to read that I'm giving away all my information too.
Totally agree. And, to go back to Apple, I'm not saying anything they do is dishonest, but I'm saying that you have to trust what they tell you. And in this case, Google didn't tell people about a microphone. And then, when people found out about it, they backtracked and said, well, it's sort of, well, yeah, it's there. And so
I'm sorry, it's like being caught cheating and did I forget to tell you about my wife?
Exactly.
Or did I forget to tell you about my husband or boyfriend or whatever? Did I not? Oh, that feels weird. So here's the thing. Now you got Mark Warner and you got Ron Wyden saying, Congress needs to get involved. Should Congress legislate here? And follow-up question, if they do, should they legislate simple language for it as well? Because when Ron Wyden says, tell everybody everything that's in everything, that sounds to me like Google going, yeah, we should be able to hide stuff in plain sight.
I think, number one, it's to answer your question, yes, I think Congress should legislate it. But it's also very difficult legislation because most of the guys in Congress can't see the future. And that's the real problem, is to future-proof any sort of laws or regulations is really, really, really tough. And I would love to see them, do something around this, but it's going to be damn hard to do it.
Yeah, not to be too cynical, but they can see the future, but it goes in 2-year increments. They can see 2020, 2022, 2024.
Exactly.
Yeah, they can see, 10, 15, 20 years out. The good news is Google says the mics in the Nests are turned off by default. And you trust Google, don't you? I mean, they say the mics are off, and why wouldn't you buy it?
Because, it's a secret microphone that is automatically off by default.
They didn't mean for it to be secret, August. You heard. I'm pretty sure I said that part. Listen, if you want to double check that the mic is set to the off position, yet another piece from Business Insider tells you how, and now Augustrometer is going to tell us how.
So in your Nest app, go to settings. If you're a Nest Guard user, tap Nest Guard in the settings menu, then tap Google Assistant, and then tap the Google Assistant to turn all of this stuff off.
And then you will know it's off because the people who didn't tell you that they put a mic in your house are telling you they turned off that microphone. Boy, Google's taking it on the chin this episode, and they should. That's what I say. Headline from the Next Web, Google has quietly dropped the ban on personally identifiable web tracking. Quoting that report, when Google bought the advertising network DoubleClick in 2007, Google founder Sergey Brin said that privacy would be the company's number one priority when we contemplate new kinds of advertising products. And for nearly a decade, Google did in fact keep DoubleClick's massive database of web browsing records separate by default from the names and other personally identifiable information Google has collected from Gmail and its other login accounts. But this summer, Google quietly erased that last privacy line in the sand, literally crossing out the lines in its privacy policy that promised to keep the two pots of data separate by default. In its place, Google substituted new language that says browsing habits may be combined with what the company learns from the use of Gmail and other tools. The change is enabled by default for new Google accounts. Existing users were prompted to opt in to the change this summer. And you may ask yourself, why would anybody opt in? Well, this kind of goes back to the question I asked last segment about whether Congress should legislate simple language for, this kind of thing too. According to the piece, existing Google users were prompted to opt into the new tracking this summer through a request with titles such as "Some new features for your Google account." The new features received little scrutiny at the time. Wired wrote that it gives you more granular control over how ads work across devices. In a personal tech column, the New York Times also described the change as new controls for the types of advertisements you see around the web. Now, maybe you've made peace with the fact that Google knows everything about you and has known for years. This is really a different thing. According to the Next Web, the practical result of the change is that the DoubleClick ads that follow people around the web may now be customized to them based on your name and other information Google knows about you. It also means that Google could now, if it wished to, build a complete portrait of a user by name based on everything they write in email, every website they visit, and the searches they conduct. Hey, August, a few months ago, you made the move to DuckDuckGo. Have you maintained that by any chance?
Abso-frickin-lutely.
Okay.
It's been the best thing that I've ever done.
For peace of mind.
Exactly.
Because honestly, the searches they're not quite there yet, though, are they?
No, I get different results, but the data that Google collects on you and the profile that they build of you is just scary. Yeah. And I just am not comfortable with that.
I'm sort of at a place now where I understand that me quitting Google is not going to change anything for the planet, but it will kind of change things for me. Plus, I really want to send a message to the man, which the man can, not read because I don't use Gmail. But I mean, it's when I say that they haven't quite got it, like there are a couple of things that I still turn to Google for specifically. Image search is much better on Google than it is on DuckDuckGo. I don't know why that is, but I assume over time it will, it'll get better. You have to be a bit more precise in your searches with DuckDuckGo. But, conversely, that's not going to be turned around and then sold to me or sold to somebody else so that they can try to sell something else to me based on the fact that I searched for something last night, last week, last month, last year. Yeah, I'm glad to see you stuck with it. I finally, by the way, woke up and I was like, well, I can go ahead and change it on my Mac as well. So I'm all across DuckDuckGo now. And this is not a promotion for them. It's just, if this is the kind of thing that concerns you, if the kind of, information gathering that's being done by Google concerns you, DuckDuckGo is out there. It's not a one-to-one trade, but the more people who use it, the more it will be. And certainly, the searches are close enough. You're not not searching for apples and getting oranges.
Right. And their stock and trade is basically your privacy. Whether or not they actually maintain that, there's no studies or anything that is shown that they don't. But
I got to figure they will, though, because that's the reason that they were started. I mean, if they don't, it will be somebody else somehow bought them or something. I mean, but they're actually turning a profit on their ads, and their ads are not targeted ads. Their ads are just when you go there to search. I mean, it's possible, I guess. They're not targeted at you specifically. I honestly have not studied how they do their advertising. I do know that I came across a story a few months ago or a couple of months ago, maybe, that they are actually, turning a profit on their ads without, knowing that you're a 42 long to do that. Now, I will say one thing that I dislike in this story. For new Google accounts, this is not an opt-in thing. The expanded tracking is on by default, and you don't know what you don't know unless you happen to, read sites like the Next Web or listen to shows like The Checklist. But you can still opt out. And once again, walking us through that minefield, Mr. Augustrometer.
And by the way, how shady is that it's opt-in automatically? First of all, you agree to terms of service, and you agree to terms of service that you don't read. So is it shady? It's no more shady than anything else that we've clicked I agree without signing in. And I say it's no more shady. It is, in fact, more shady. But I was talking to Nicholas Tachek earlier, and he was bemoaning the fact that, yes, invasion of privacy now pretty much has to be the default position. We have to understand when we buy a Nest that there's a chance that there's a microphone in it, or that when we click, to sign up for a Google account, there's a chance that they're going to take every single thing we do, give that information to somebody else to try to get us to buy, everything from deodorant to life insurance. Yeah, it's the amount of data collection is just really, really spooky, and just be careful. That's the only advice I can give, is be careful, because you are making an informed decision, or sometimes an uninformed decision, on who you're giving that information to. So just be careful. And if you want to opt out of Google's identified tracking, you go to Google's My Account page, go to Activity Controls, and then uncheck the box next to Include Chrome browsing history and activity from websites and apps that use Google services. And
that's just insane right there. I'm sorry. Because you're going to read like the first two things, and it says Include Chrome browsing. Why don't I use Chrome?
Right.
I don't have to read that whole sentence, because this is not about me. I mean, to throw like four things in there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, unless they've got like a hidden microphone somewhere, maybe unchecking that box will work. Maybe it won't.
Boy, that's tough. That really is tough, because that's where we come to. Yeah, you go back to that Nest thing a moment ago. I can't remember who it was. Well, I mean, there was the story a few weeks ago that we did about, apps actually being able to almost screenshot the activity when you're in a particular application.
Yeah.
I guess it was all the way back to, several months ago when we were talking about the 2018 MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, how the fact that when you close the lid of the MacBook Pro, it automatically turns off the microphone.
Right.
And then there were people who were advocating for it. Why don't you give me a kill switch so I can turn off the microphone any time? Because while I theoretically know that the microphone is off, the way for me to know for certain is to literally let me break that circuit, right? And so, yes, I mean, so Google, who put in the secret microphone, is now saying, okay, we'll just click here and the secret microphone will totally not be secretly on, we promise. And it's the same kind of thing with this opt-in thing. It's like, oh, you don't want us to watch where you're going? Okay, well, click here and we won't watch where you're going. Which, I mean, I say that out loud and I find it very hard to believe that's actually true. Maybe they don't keep the information, but how are they really not going to gather that information? Because they're Google, and gathering information is either the top or second thing they do, depending on whether they take search more seriously or take your searching more seriously.
Like I said, be careful.
Sharing is for suckers. I'll tell you why in a moment, but first, a word about MacScan 3 from SecureMac. A lot of people go to the Mac because nobody on the Mac ever has malware ever. Except, as you know, that is not the case. Maybe you've gotten by without being hit over the past few years, but you know what? All good things come to an end. It's sort of sad to say it that way. Here's the thing. There are things you can do to mitigate the risks. One of those things that you can do, get MacScan 3 by SecureMac. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by SecureMac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for well over a decade. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your computer. Protect your digital life. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by SecureMac. Your 30-day free trial is waiting at securemac.com/MacScan. I said earlier that sharing is for suckers. Sharing is caring. We know that. We've heard that all our lives. From, money to fruit snacks to giving of our time. Sharing is caring. For God's sake, don't share your passwords. CNET ran a piece this week talking about the hazards of sharing your streaming passwords. According to that, 71% of people said that they would consider sharing a password with a spouse or partner, according to a SurveyMonkey audience poll shared exclusively with CNET. More than a third of respondents were willing to quit a streaming service such as Netflix or HBO if the company used artificial intelligence to stop password sharing. And it's kind of weird to me, actually. I mean, even in living situations, I would never share a password for, PIN or banking. But for Netflix and Hulu, I mean, shared entertainment expenses, absolutely.
We have, in my home, we are wire cutters, and we have Netflix and Hulu, and we have one login, but it's not shared. So my wife doesn't know my password, but on my Apple TV, I've obviously logged in and everything is fine. The problem with sharing passwords is you don't know what that other person's going to do with them.
Right. See, that's the thing. Although, I mean, seriously, talk to your wife, dude. I've met her. I trust her. I wouldn't give her my Netflix password, but I would think that you could give her your Netflix password and it should be fine. Here's the thing. Assuming that we're talking about something like Netflix or Hulu, outside of the moral gray area, well, let me ask you, August, do you want to guess what the biggest issue is with trading those passwords with friends?
I'm drawing a blank.
You're kidding me. Really? Well, here's what CNET says. The practice is particularly unsafe because so many people, just over half according to SurveyMonkey, reuse their passwords, right? So you might think you're just sharing your Amazon password, but you've forgotten it's also your work email password because we do that kind of thing. No matter how many times Augustrometer tells you not to reuse passwords, no matter how many times some guy named Nicholas or some guy named Nicholas or their friend Ken, people still reuse passwords all the time. Today, we use passwords for both business and personal use, and because so many people share or reuse the same passwords, it puts both personal and business data at risk, said Brent Williams, Chief Information Security Officer at SurveyMonkey. Never do that. Additionally, the piece points out that sharing your password doubles the number of people who could expose your password to hackers. Additionally, it points out sharing your password also makes it harder for online services to protect you with special software that tracks your typing and mouse movement, which alerts them when a stranger enters your password. Here's the thing. When it's you and your password, you can be as careful as you can be. You can employ the best practices to keep your info safe. When you give that password to your kid, your significant other, your mom, your password is exactly as safe as their computing practices, and who knows how safe those are. So here's the thing. We're going to share our passwords anyway. We just are. Some of us are.
I totally agree. When you share passwords, it just doubles the risk that you have, because if my data gets hacked in a database, then they have information on me. Mm-hmm. But if I've shared that information with my wife now and that database gets hacked, then whatever information they have on her, they now have on me as well. So I totally agree. Do not share passwords. Instead, I would recommend using a password manager. And there's a lot of different apps out there that would allow you to do that. It's so much easier to be able to share that stuff and be safe about it. And I don't know why people don't use password managers more often.
I can tell you why, honestly. No, I'm not kidding. They're scary. No matter how many times somebody like you or somebody like me or somebody like, any of the people from SecureMac or anybody else, they need to be more transparent. They need to say how they work exactly, because you have to pay for something. You have to then start giving that thing information about yourself, and you don't know exactly how it's going to work. One of the ones that's been easiest to understand is Apple's thing, but that's because it already comes on your iPhone and your Mac. So you can see how you can share passwords back and forth between those two. I feel like there's a certain, it's not quite alchemy, but I feel like there's a certain, I don't know how this works. And I've never heard of this company before, except that other people have talked about it, but they're telling me they're going to keep me safe, but I don't know what the steps are going to be or how it's going to go. That would be my guess.
And that's a totally fair take. There are a number of reputable companies out there, and because their stock and trade is your sort of password history, they are not going to screw that up. And the ones that are reputable, I would trust in. If they're kind of a fly-by-night or a brand new company, I'd have a few more questions about whether or not they're a good source to go to.
But use a password manager is what you're saying.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Hey, if you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is securemac.com/checklist. Next few days, probably, you'll find notes for this show. You will find notes for the last show and every show that we've done before, including shows on password managers. And, you could check that Nest story from a couple of weeks ago, because that was a more fun Nest story than this one, I'll tell you. If you have a question you'd like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. The address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. And we'll talk to you next week.